I thought surviving a heart attack at 58 was the hardest thing I'd ever face. I was wrong. The real betrayal came while I was fighting for my life in that hospital bed. My name is David, and after 32 years of marriage, I discovered my wife wasn't praying for my recovery. She was planning her freedom with another man. Lisa and I met in college. She was studying to be a nurse. I was pre-med before life took me into engineering instead. We built what everyone called the perfect marriage in suburban Denver. 2 kids, now grown with families of their own. A house we'd spent decades making into a home. I was 2 years from retirement when my chest seized up during my morning jog. The paramedics said I was lucky. If Lisa hadn't found me collapsed in our driveway, I wouldn't have made it. During those first terrifying days in cardiac ICU, Lisa never left my side. She held my hand through every procedure, brought me my favorite coffee when I could finally drink again, and helped me to the bathroom when I was too weak to stand alone. I remember thinking, 32 years, and she's still here, still fighting for us. But something felt different. Lisa had always been attentive, but now she seemed distracted. Her phone would buzz at odd hours, and she'd quickly silence it. When I asked who was calling so late, she'd say it was her sister, checking on my progress.
"Don't worry about it, honey,"
she'd whisper, kissing my forehead.
"Just focus on getting better."
I trusted her completely. After 3 decades together, why wouldn't I? After 2 weeks in the hospital, I came home to continue my recovery. Lisa had taken family leave from her job to care for me full-time. She was patient when I couldn't climb stairs without getting winded, understanding when I needed help with basic tasks that had been effortless for decades. But those phone calls kept coming. One evening, while Lisa was showering, her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. The name on the screen made my blood run cold. Michael. Michael was Lisa's college boyfriend, the guy she dated for 3 years before we met, the one she always described as immature and not ready for real commitment. The message preview was partially visible.
"He's getting stronger. We need to be more careful about—"
My hands shook as I set the phone down. Not from my heart condition this time. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe Michael had heard about my heart attack through mutual friends. Maybe he was just checking in. People do that, right? But even as I rationalized it, something inside me was breaking. A cold, sinking feeling that had nothing to do with my damaged heart and everything to do with the woman lying next to me every night. The doubt ate at me like acid. Every kiss goodnight felt like a lie. Every time she helped me with my medication, I wondered if she was counting pills, calculating how many it would take. The paranoia was making me sicker than the heart attack ever had. Why would Lisa save his contact under his first name if it was innocent? And why had she never mentioned he was reaching out? The questions circled in my mind like vultures, picking at the carcass of my trust. That night, lying in bed beside my wife of 32 years, listening to her breathe peacefully while my world crumbled, I made a decision that went against every instinct I had. I was going to pay attention. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own home. When Lisa went grocery shopping, she'd be gone for 3 hours. When she claimed to be visiting her sister, I'd casually ask her sister later. She hadn't seen Lisa in weeks. The yoga classes Lisa suddenly started attending. I called the studio. They had no record of her enrollment. Each lie was a knife twist. Each deception made me feel more foolish for the 32 years I'd believed in us. I started seeing our entire marriage differently. Had there been other times? Other signs I'd missed because I was too trusting, too comfortable in my delusion of having a faithful wife. But the real evidence came by accident. Lisa had been managing all my medication since the heart attack. One morning, she was rushing to help me with my pills when her phone slipped from her pocket and clattered across the hardwood floor. The screen cracked, but it was still functional.
I'll be right back, honey.
She said, heading to the bathroom.
Don't try to get those pills yourself.
Her phone was face up on the floor. A text message notification popped up from Michael. Can't wait to hold you again. These stolen hours aren't enough. Once David's fully recovered, we can finally be together properly. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas. My chest tightened, not from my heart condition, but from pure, devastating heartbreak. Then I quickly grabbed the phone and scrolled up through their conversation. What I found destroyed everything I thought I knew about my marriage. They'd been talking for months before my heart attack, planning, dreaming about their future together. But here's what made it truly sick. My medical crisis had become their opportunity.
He's completely dependent on me now.
Lisa had written.
He trusts me completely. We have more freedom than ever.
Reading those words felt like having my heart ripped out while it was still beating. The woman I'd loved for 3 decades, the woman I'd built a life with, was describing my vulnerability like it was a convenience for her affair. Just think, Michael had replied. If something happens during his recovery, you'll be a widow with a clear conscience. No messy divorce. The room spun. My hands trembled so violently I almost dropped the phone. They weren't just having an affair. They were waiting for me to die, actually hoping for it. The messages revealed everything, and each revelation was agony. How Lisa would meet him at his apartment while I napped each afternoon. Naps I needed because my body was broken, fighting to heal. How they'd talk on the phone late at night, believing I was safely unconscious on pain medication that I actually needed to survive. How they'd even met at the hospital during visiting hours. Michael would wait in the parking garage while Lisa took breaks from my bedside.
The doctors say he might not survive another episode.
She'd written just days after my surgery.
His heart is severely damaged.
Michael's response. Maybe that's for the best, darling. We've waited long enough. I had to put the phone down and lean against the wall to keep from collapsing. The physical pain in my chest was nothing compared to the emotional devastation tearing through me. Every moment of tenderness, every gentle touch, every whispered, "I love you," during my recovery. It had all been performance. Theater. While I was grateful for her care, she was praying for my death. The betrayal was so complete, so thorough, that I felt like I was drowning in it. This wasn't just infidelity. This was someone actively wishing for my demise while playing the role of devoted wife. The cruelty was breathtaking. I screenshot every conversation, saved every piece of evidence to a secure email account Lisa didn't know about. But I didn't confront her. Something deeper than anger had taken hold of me. A cold, calculated clarity born from the deepest pain I'd ever experienced. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was praying for my death while pretending to nurse me back to health. The woman who'd promised, in sickness and in health, was using my sickness as her pathway to freedom. If Lisa wanted freedom, I was going to give it to her, just not the way she expected. The emotional agony was constant now. Every time she touched me, I wanted to recoil. Every time she asked how I was feeling, I heard the unspoken hope in her voice that the answer would be worse. The medication she handed me each morning, I'd started wondering if she was hoping I'd take too much by accident. Over the next 2 weeks, I quietly prepared my exit strategy while dying inside every single day. I contacted my lawyer, arranged to transfer half our assets to a separate account, and researched rental properties in the next state over. I even had a long conversation with our adult children, explaining that their mother and I were having serious problems, without revealing the devastating details that would shatter their image of their mother forever.
Dad, are you sure?
My daughter Sarah asked.
Mum seems so devoted to taking care of you.
Sometimes, I told her, my voice breaking slightly. The person taking care of you is the same person slowly killing you. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal, while my soul was being eviscerated daily. Letting Lisa help me with medication she might have tampered with, accepting her kisses goodnight, knowing she'd been kissing another man hours earlier, and that both of them were counting down the days until I was gone. But I had to be sure. I had to let her prove exactly who she was, even though every day of pretending was torture. During this time, the emotional weight became almost unbearable. I'd catch myself staring at Lisa during dinner, wondering how long she'd been wearing this mask. Had she ever loved me? Was our entire marriage built on lies? The questions tormented me, but I couldn't ask them without revealing what I knew. I started having panic attacks, not from my heart condition, but from the crushing realization that the person closest to me wanted me dead. I'd wake up in cold sweats, not from medication side effects, but from nightmares, where Lisa was standing over my hospital bed, unplugging machines. On a Thursday morning, Lisa announced she was going to her book club. She'd been in a book club quite frequently since my heart attack.
I'll be back by dinner time,
she said, adjusting my pillows with false tenderness that now made my skin crawl.
Your afternoon medication is on the nightstand. Don't forget to take it.
20 minutes after she left, despite my doctor's orders to avoid stress and exertion, I drove slowly to Michael's apartment complex. Lisa's car was in visitor parking. I sat there for 2 hours, my damaged heart pounding, watching the window of his apartment. Around 3 p.m., I saw them, Lisa and Michael, embracing on his balcony, completely visible to anyone who might be looking. She was wearing the red dress I'd bought her for our 30th anniversary. The sight hit me like another heart attack. That dress represented everything we'd built together, every promise we'd made, every year we'd shared. Seeing her wear it while embracing the man who hoped I'd die was the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. That was the moment I stopped being her husband and became her ghost. The next morning, while Lisa was at her fake yoga class, I loaded everything important into my truck. Photos of our children, my father's watch, clothes, and my medical records. I left behind everything we'd built together and took only what was purely mine. Each item I packed felt like burying a piece of my old life. The wedding photo on my nightstand went face down in a box. I couldn't bear to look at her smile anymore, knowing what it had hidden. The anniversary gifts, the vacation souvenirs, the shared memories, they all felt contaminated now. I placed divorce papers on the kitchen table, along with a single photograph, the picture I'd taken of her and Michael on his balcony, kissing in the dress I'd given her. No note, no explanation, no forwarding address. I simply vanished from her life as completely as she'd already vanished from mine. 6 months later, I heard through our daughter that Lisa had been calling everyone we knew, claiming I'd abandoned her during my recovery. She told people I'd had some kind of breakdown, that the medication had affected my judgment. She never mentioned Michael, of course. The irony was bitter. She was painting herself as the victim of my abandonment when she'd been the one praying for my death. Even in the aftermath, she couldn't tell the truth. But here's what she didn't know. I'd sent copies of all their text messages to Michael's wife. Turns out he'd been lying to 2 women about his intentions. The last I heard, Lisa was living alone in our old house, which she'd have to sell to pay for the divorce. Michael had moved to another state to escape his own marital wreckage. I'm 59 now, living in a small apartment overlooking the mountains. My heart is stronger than it's been in years. Turns out the stress of a failing marriage, of living with someone who wished you dead, was worse for my health than I'd realized. The pain hasn't completely gone away. Some nights I still wake up angry, not just at Lisa, but at myself for being so blind for so long. I grieve not just for the marriage that ended, but for the marriage I thought I had, the one that apparently never existed. Lisa wanted me gone. I just gave her exactly what she asked for, on my terms, not hers. And you know what? Sometimes the strongest response to betrayal isn't revenge. It's disappearing so completely that you become a lesson they'll never forget. The pain transformed me, but it didn't break me. I discovered that surviving infidelity while your heart is literally broken requires a strength I didn't know I possessed. Every day I chose to keep going, despite the devastating knowledge of what she'd done, was a victory over both my physical condition and her emotional cruelty. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, like this video and subscribe for more infidelity stories, cheating wife stories, lost love chronicles, and inspirational stories about finding the strength to start over.